We are going to be talking today about mitochondria. You hear about mitochondria all the time now. It's in every health blog, it's in the newspaper, influencers are talking about it, that you should improve it, you need to work on it, it's become dysfunctional. It sounds like a sitcom, but here's what we're gonna talk about: how important it is to understand your mitochondria, how things that you can do to help improve it, help make it stronger, help it recycle itself, which is a good thing. We're also gonna talk about how important it is, unfortunately, in disease states, that if it becomes dysfunctional, it doesn't work as well. If it breaks down, it's going to lead to things like heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes. It may have a link to infertility as well. So we're going to start with the good, and then we're going to go on to the bad things that the mitochondria can cause. So what is your mitochondria? Your mitochondria is the energy part of your cell. It's the power part of your cell. It's the battery. That's the analogy, the image you see on social media all the time. First part, it does what's called oxidative phosphorylation, which is pretty much a little train track through parts of the mitochondria called the electron transport chain, and that enables your body to produce what's called ATP. ATP are the power pellets. For those old enough to remember Pac-Man, that's what they are. ATP, your body produces between 36 and 38 ATP in humans, and that's what helps your body have energy. The mitochondria also helps your body detox. It helps your body deal with what's called oxidative stress, which are free radicals, which your body does need some free radicals as a way of dealing with injury or exposure to toxins or inflammation. But if you have too much and your body cannot deal with it, that can be too much and that can damage the mitochondria, which will ultimately lead to disease. That's something that we're going to talk about in a little bit as we go through the video here. The mitochondria also helps with calcium metabolism. It's also, the mitochondria is going to help with stem cell production. It's also going to help with protein production. Some of the things that it actually helps with, but actually are bad for the body a little bit, it does lead to cell death, which is called apoptosis. It's also going to have the ability to remove damaged parts of the cell itself, and it helps to recycle them. So those are things that your mitochondria does. You want to keep the mitochondria as healthy as possible, and these are some easy tips that you can do. First, we're going to go through some lifestyle things that you can do to help your mitochondria, and then we're going to go into some supplements and then some peptides and more complicated things that you can do to really, really boost your mitochondria, because there's different things that you want to work on when dealing with your mitochondria. You want to help it be able to regenerate, what's called mitophagy, which means that your body is going to be able to take the damaged mitochondria that's not working as well and develop new mitochondria. That's called mitophagy. You also want to make sure that the electron transport chain, that little railroad track that helps the body produce those power pellets, is working appropriately, and you want to make sure that the mitochondria is dealing well with oxidative stress and is not being exposed to too many toxins or too much inflammation. So that's our goal with what we need to do to protect our mitochondria, which in turn is going to help us have a much healthier life if we do really well with that. In terms of first things you want to make sure, you want to really work on your lifestyle. First thing we know is be checking your Oura ring, check your Whoop, making sure that you're getting your deep sleep and your REM sleep. That is going to help the mitochondrial heal. It's going to help initiate what's called mitochondrial biogenesis. That's where mitochondria produce other mitochondria. Mitochondrial babies. That's a weird image there. But you want to help your body produce healthy and working at their best mitochondria. Making sure that you're getting the appropriate amount of sleep, making sure that you're maintaining a good circadian rhythm, making sure that you're getting the appropriate deep sleep and REM sleep, which should at least be an hour and a half each, give or take, and should optimally be at least 20% of your total sleep, but that's a little bit negotiable depending on a lot of your other your sleep metrics. Exercise is so important. We know it's important for almost everything out there. We know exercise is your body's way of producing mitochondria, helping your mitochondria getting big and strong. It also does initiate what we talked about before, mitochondrial biogenesis. That's where you have the little baby mitochondria. So you want to make sure that you're doing resistance exercise or weight-bearing exercise at least, they say, between 90 to 150 minutes per week. Another part of exercise that has been shown to be helpful for mitochondria is doing what's called zone 2 level exercise. And doing zone 2 level exercise is anywhere between, in theory, 60 to 75% of your max heart rate. If you can talk, if you can't talk while you're working out, That's not zone 2 usually. There's now a lot of wearables that, like a Garmin, that can check if you're in zone 2, but doing optimally 30 minutes to 60 minutes a week of doing zone 2, that could be helpful for making sure that you have a healthy mitochondria. Other things that you can make sure that you're going to be doing, expose your body to cold. Cold immersion we know is better than a cryotherapy in this regard. Cold immersion optimally doing about anywhere around at least 11 minutes per week. Try not to do it around your heavy workout days. That is, again, going to lead to the body going to mitophagy, which is the clearing out the bad mitochondria, and again, mitochondrial biogenesis, which again, making those little mitochondrial babies. You want to keep doing that. Review, you want to make sure you're getting appropriate sleep and going to keep making sure you're maintaining a perfect sleep rhythm. Make sure that you are getting the exercise, especially doing zone 2 and resistance-based exercise. Cardio can help, but not as much usually. You want to making sure that you are immersing yourself to cold. Sauna can also help with mitophagy and decreasing oxidative stress. You want to try to do sauna at least 3 days a week, if not more, optimally about 30 minutes or so. Or you can do both. You can do what we call contrast therapy and going from cold to hot and cold to hot. That also has been shown to help work your mitochondria. Other things that you can do are exposing yourself to red light, which works on parts of that railroad track that we talked about, the electron transport chain, and that is also something that can be beneficial. That's something that you can do. We recommend about 10 minutes a day, about 4 to 5 days a week. So those are lifestyle things that you could be doing to making sure that your mitochondria is healthy. Other things that you can do that may help in terms of diet, obviously avoiding inflammatory foods like sugar. Some people, gluten can affect them. You also want to, some cases, not eating may help. In some patients, especially if they do prolonged fasting, at least 24 to 36 hours. Again, something that's been discussed with your doctor. That also may be very helpful for your mitochondrial health. So we went through lifestyle changes. That should be the core of anything that you do in terms of health before you're doing ridiculous supplements or IVs. Start with the basics. Next, we're going to really get into the questions that I always get asked in terms of what supplements can I take to help work on my mitochondria. And what you want to do when you're dealing with your mitochondria is, and mitochondrial health and mitochondrial supplements, is you want to deal with the different buckets that help protect your mitochondria. It's not just, okay, I'm going to take NAD and take this and take that, and just haphazardly taking things without knowing why you're taking it. You want to help the mitochondria divide. We want to have healthy baby mitochondria. We'll make sure the electron transport chain, which helps your body make energy, those power pellets that we talked about, making sure that that electron transport chain is working well. You want to make sure that you're dealing with oxidative stress with your antioxidants. Want to stress, and we'll discuss this in other videos more, antioxidants should not be done every day. It's limiting. It can, in theory, affect cancer. It also, we know that it does decrease your athletic performance doing prolonged antioxidants, but it's something you definitely want to do in bits. So you want to be working on that. You also want to make sure that you're giving the mitochondria the supplements that it needs, things like magnesium, which is where we'll start. Things like magnesium and the B vitamins are important. If you're not getting that from your diet, you should be supplementing with magnesium. You can be doing magnesium glycinate. Magnesium threonate is also helpful if you're having an issue with sleep. You can get tag team there and get improvement on both regards. The other supplements that we tend to look at in terms of just powering the mitochondria, we know that you can become depleted in CoQ10, which is part of the electron transport chain, and some of the other processes that are going on throughout the mitochondria. You can do CoQ10. I prefer CoQ10 to ubiquinol. It's a little bit different than other people that are out there. I tend to recommend higher doses. But again, I don't really discuss specific doses. I think you should be taking at least 200 milligrams, if not 300 milligrams of CoQ10. Again, all these doses just discuss with your healthcare provider. Definitely want to have CoQ10. One of my favorite supplements is a supplement called MITOCHONDRIAL, which helps, has a combination of CoQ10, but it's also an antioxidant. It's been shown in many, many studies to help as an antioxidant. It's been shown to help the mitochondria. It's been shown to help actually work on a specific process that can damage and actually kill the mitochondria, and that is what's called ferroptosis, which is, we can kind of call as a term iron overload, which now has been shown to potentially be involved in things like Alzheimer's and neuropathy, as well as things like ALS as well, unfortunately. So something I would definitely recommend using a supplement called MitoQ. Then we're going to get into something called MITOPURE, which is something that helps produce what's called mitophagy. So again, we're working on mitophagy, which is how we produce baby mitochondria. We're working on giving the things with the electron transport chain, things like CoQ10, magnesium, the B vitamins. We're dealing with the antioxidants and oxidative stress by doing things like glutathione, NRF2, which can come from broccoli, and sulforaphane, which comes from broccoli as well, and MitoQ, so we got the antioxidant component going. You want to supply the body with NAD, which it needs to run a lot of these processes. So those are different supplements that you can use to help power the mitochondria. Other supplements that we tend to also really like in terms of mitochondrial health, NAD and NMN. The other supplements that we tend to use can be mitochondrial peptides. People who are out there know that peptides have become more and more popular in terms of general health, as well as we can use them in terms of the mitochondria. So when we're using them for the mitochondria, there are specific mitochondrial peptides, and there are three. The most common ones are MOTC, which is a once-a-week injection. MOTC has been shown to potentially help in decreasing oxidative stress and help the mitochondria be stronger. The one that is now being used in more studies is something called SS31. SS31 works along the electron transport chain on the railroad track itself, and it's an antioxidant, but it also helps the mitochondria work at its best. It's now being studied for everything from tendinitis to Alzheimer's to ALS. So those are the two most common peptides out there that we use in conjunction with the other peptides that we mentioned. And there are other peptides that you can definitely use to help boost the mitochondria. Things such as resveratrol, things like berberine. They work on parts of the process that happens in the cell and the mitochondria. They work on enzymes like AMPK, which helps the body produce energy. We're not even going to go into things that inhibit mTOR. There's a litany of things that we can use to help protect and heal and maximize the mitochondria. We can use spermidine, which is a product derived from wheat germ. That also will help the mitochondria deal with oxidative stress. It helps boost stem cell production, and it also will help in terms of healing the mitochondria. So those are supplements that I recommend. Definitely the ones I would start off with are CoQ10, MitoQ. You want to start with the B vitamins, magnesium, and I would recommend doing a NRF2 as an antioxidant. Those are the core, and then adding in one of the mitochondrial peptides, either a MOTC or an SS31. Work with a doctor who knows how to use those peptides. They should not be used for long periods of time. That is what we are trying to do to make sure that you have a healthy mitochondria. And then again, understand that you have mitochondria throughout your body. You have heavy numbers of mitochondria in the brain. Which is why we're now using red light and other treatments to help promote cognition and make it better, and unfortunately to deal with situations when there is neurodegenerative issues in the brain, things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, concussion issues. All those supplements are really good in terms of helping your mitochondria. There's a lot of mitochondria in your muscle cells, which is why we recommend doing exercise to help build the number and the quality of your mitochondria. There's a lot of mitochondria in your heart, which is now transformed or been an additive process in terms of how we treat patients with heart issues. We're targeting oxidative stress. We're targeting what's called mitochondrial dysfunction, which means that your mitochondria is not working as well. It's got to go into the shop. Using products like SS31, we're using MitoPure or urolysine A. We're using these products to help heal the mitochondria, especially in the organs where they are most prominent and their highest number. But again, there's mitochondria throughout the body, and we want to make sure they're working appropriately. And they can lead to numerous diseases besides things like Alzheimer's, besides things in terms of heart disease. There's been a link between what we call mitochondrial dysfunction and obesity. Issues in terms of that electron transport chain not working, oxidative stress. Literally just the mitochondria cannot deal with all the damage has been done from the inflammation, from toxins. It could be anything from being exposed to pollution. It could be exposed to the chemicals in your hair care products or the Teflon on your pan. That can damage the mitochondria. So our goal is to work on limiting the oxidative stress, because that can lead to chronic medical issues. And we're seeing that in patients who have those types of things. We see linked to mitochondrial function in diabetes, especially mitophagy. Again, making those baby mitochondria is damaged in patients with diabetes. There are also, again, levels of oxidative stress. So you're seeing that link as we go through. If you don't keep your mitochondria healthy and monitor mitochondria, you can end up having some serious medical issues, and you want to get, like anything else, you want to get on top of that before things get out of control. Other conditions that have been linked to mitochondria damage, as I mentioned before: Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS. Unfortunately, a lot of the medicines for all three of those conditions have been shown to be incredibly helpful. We are now using devices such as red light therapy. Red light therapy works on cytochrome C by using infrared and red light spectrums to hopefully help heal the mitochondria, make the mitochondria work better. We're also using things like MitoCue, as I mentioned before. It's great as support, and it's an antioxidant. We're using things like NRF2. We're using things like exogenous ketones. Exogenous ketones, which are what are produced, patients go on a keto diet or they fast, beta-hydroxybutyrate, that is going to help to heal the brain. And that has also been shown to help the mitochondria. As you know, as we're learning more and more every day, there are new things that can help the mitochondria. I could just go on for 2 hours here in terms of what supplements you should be taking. But again, I gave you guys a starter list before. So understand how important it is to really take care of your mitochondria. We're seeing mitochondrial damage in polycystic ovarian disease. We're seeing mitochondrial damage in tendinitis. We're seeing mitochondrial damage in patients who are having nerve issues, peripheral neuropathy, all concussions. I mean, it's pretty much been showing up in every chronic illness that's out there. There's now been shown in terms of hypertension. Part of our treatment is to work on the mitochondria to help heal the mitochondria and work on the enzymes that the mitochondria activates to help protect our bodies. So you don't have to be on blood pressure medicine. You don't have to be on cholesterol medication. You want to be preventative as opposed to reacting to things. And that's the way you want to view your whole health. You're better being proactive than reactive. So to summarize, the things you want to look at in terms of your mitochondria: you want to make sure you're doing the lifestyle things like sleep, exercise, appropriate diet, trying to expose your body to some stressors, be it heat or cold or both. Making sure that you're taking supplements. When you take supplements, you're taking them from different baskets to help the mitochondria. And if you unfortunately have some medical issue, making sure that the doctor you're working with is targeting the mitochondrial issue. Stay tuned for more information on my channel and subscribe below.